because that's a form of people pleasing. And quite frankly, people pleasing is a stage of a mental trap that eventually does bring a person into an unhinged form of reaction because of how much it gets exploited and taken advantage of by people that can see it subconsciously and know how to exploit it consciously. Yeah. So, no. I'm going to continue to give myself as much peace in the world as I want because I do have the audacity to show up as myself. And I'm not burdening myself with how others are going to see me through my choice of how I feel like showing up. And yes, I accept that this is a part of existing for me. This is where I'm at. And my choice of reaction is my responsibility. I'm not going to blame someone else for it. That is also the catch. If people be blaming other people for their choice of reaction, they're not responsibly expressing themselves. They're doing it irresponsibly. Because that means you're not standing by your choice of emotions. You're busy blaming someone for why you're standing by your choice of emotions. Own your feelings and own them when they occur, and own them when you choose to choose that choice of reaction towards the other individual or towards the situation when you decide to act on that specific choice of behavior. Because I can guarantee you, the more you become self-aware, the more conscious you become on choosing what kind of unhingedness or professionalism unhingedness you decide to take action on when you decide to react towards something environmental or personable through a reaction that has clearly upset you. And that's on period. But most folks would busy be sitting up here saying, well, I acted this way because this person deserved it because of the way they be sitting up here acting like that. And they basically baited me into this form of reaction where I had no choice but to now show them my other side. And so it's on them that they decided to receive that part of me. That's how most folks be talking in this society. And that's how I see things. And that's what usually political correctness is rooted from, that most people operate from. Which is why you hear most folks say, well, they deserved it because this, and this is what they did. So they deserved it because of all that. Okay. And that's how they want to live. That is how they operate and regulate. Okay. Their choice of operating and how they want to see the world is obviously just different from mine. That's how they want to act. And that's how they want to reason things. It's obviously just not aligned with my way of viewing things, doing things, and just being. So be careful not to attempt to try to merge my reasoning for how I regulate and categorize it with others that choose to regulate differently from me, that choose to operate from a space of political correctness when they decide how they want to show up and respond to somebody with their choice of emotions. Because we all deserve space to own our choice of how we're showing up and what we believe is obviously responsible for us personally. We're not out here trying to control nobody. We're out here existing. And to coexist is to also accept that other people have their own approaches to how they decide they're going to be responsible for themselves when they're showing up towards someone else. It's not about trying to control the direction like you're doing right now with the categorizing and technicalities of things, because that is you recreating another angle of people pleasing and political correctness that hopefully gets accepted by the generalized public perceiving the message. That's not what we're looking for. It's about promoting the idea and encouraging the idea of the individual focusing on just the individual, which is themselves. While they teach themselves to hold the emotional and mental capacity for someone else to show up as they're choosing to, and if it's not aligned with what they believe in and who they are, that's okay. Do you then have the emotional capacity to then accept that person as their being, or are you guys no longer aligned to where it's time to just diverge ways because you've learned what you had to learn from each other? All this connecting to the whole emotional regulation stuff that I was talking to you about earlier, where I was wondering if you're feeling your emotions, and you busy telling me that you saw how I reacted and seemed unhinged when I was feeling my emotions, and it was all because I was asking you if you were feeling your feelings. How are you feeling now about feeling your emotions after this after this conversation? Well, I felt lost and confused because, I mean, basically you're telling me to be my own person and to overcome the fear of wondering if my choice of expression will be received well or not by others. And to overcome that fear by accepting that it's me that needs to give myself the space to feel and regulate my emotions. It's not the people around me where I'm waiting for the political correctness and the permission to be who I need to feel I need to be in that moment. But it also catches me off guard that I'm going to have to be responsible for what I choose to act on once I act on it. And it's not about me blaming someone for me choosing to act that way is another angle of perspective I never looked at before. And when you said that others don't have to live through this ideology that you choose to live by because they're obviously also going to have their own individual or independent of you where they operate completely different probably from you in this area of this ideology, that threw me off as well because that means that I can think for myself and that means that I can make up my own autonomy for what it looks like for me when it comes to how I choose to be responsible for my feelings. That's not going to align with society's expectations or political correctness of values and boundaries that are unspoken and created by the generalized public in order to nurture and coddle emotions that most people have still not taught themselves to regulate personally themselves. And it also removes me from being responsible for most, or actually all, of people's feelings when it comes to how they decide to receive me when I decide to stand by myself, when it's time for me to regulate my emotions. That's a lot to take in. That's a tongue twister right there. That is a lot of information. As for me feeling my emotions, I don't know. After this conversation, they're kind of just gone. After talking about all this, I think they're gone because I guess it was time to have me talk about how to regulate my emotions differently and express myself, which means I've been restricting myself this whole time. This is awkward, but also educating. I think this also means that every angle we have likely been taught in society to follow in order to coddle the feelings of most of society who hasn't worked through their own personal healing process of emotional emotional regulation themselves, is now going to have to face their emotions when they experience someone that has given themselves their own sense of safety and personal space within themselves to not worry about how those people receive them when it's time for that person to regulate their feelings towards them, which will put them into a space to have to finally face themselves in very uncomfortable moods and emotions. And they will then have no choice but to choose how they express themselves, which most of the time, if they have suppressed their feelings for a long time, will not look pretty until they learn how to regulate them now that they've been triggered into having to begin to process their own feelings. This is a lot to take in. My mind just keeps going. This is a lot to take in. Oh my gosh.